Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. I think this is part 6. Now, I don't want to kind of big up any gangs or what have you. You know, there's plenty of Norteños that put it down, plenty of Serranos, plenty of Bloods, and every other kind of gang you can imagine all across America. Some of these guys are a lot more serious than these other guys, and that is what it is. You know what I mean? So, I hope that, shout out to all gang members. I hope you all do the right thing, and I hope you understand what's going on, who I am, and why this is happening, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now going on to another topic. Okay, so the word martial is marital scramble. Okay, I mean, people have free will, right? If you want to have a more erotic desire marriage, that's your choice. Okay, it's supposed to be a free country. You're supposed to have human rights, secular rights. God gave you free will, right? You can choose and accept the pros and cons, right? Now, I'm an extremely, extremely romantic person. Extremely. And that is key in my story. Okay? The kind of heartbreak I suffered was extreme. I carved a broken heart. And when I tell my life story, I always bring up this part. I carved a broken heart, and it's there to some degree, under my wrist, on the back of my back of my arm, right? Under the back of my hand, right? Under my wrist. And I did that when I was in Idaho as a result of all the stuff that was going on, right? Sent to the behavior modification program. I was at the hospital, okay? And that was, oh man, see, I was maybe 16 years old. So that was like, that was like 26 years ago. Okay, 26 years ago. So as a 16-year-old, I was very, very intensely romantic. So that's why I looked her name up in the phone book and called her. Because I said, I know that I love deeper than other people. And I know I really care about this person. And that she can do better than whoever she's going to date and marry. And that she deserves my love and I deserve her love. Okay? Now again, she's not my soulmate or something. I mean, time has shown me that. But certainly it would have been nice to have been with her, right? And so, yeah, that's why that I carved that there. And I promised myself at the time, I said, I'm never going to let a female hurt me as bad as she did. And, eventually I would get married. Not married. Eventually I would get engaged, okay, to a female named Mary Kate. I'm one of the odds here, right? Her name was Maria. And the female that I was engaged to was named Mary Kate, and that was not deliberate. And she had black hair too. She was very white-skinned, but she was part Greek and Italian, right? And it's very interesting, And that was when I was, when I was like 26 or something. That's interesting, right? So sometime around there, maybe it was like more like 23, 24. And then she left when I was probably about 27. So she left me several times without saying bye, okay, after swearing that she would never do that. And then she was like, man, why didn't you kill yourself? Because you said you would. Because I said, if she ever left me, then I kill myself. And she knew I was serious. And she was like, okay. So she must have been in some cult that wanted me to die because of my heritage, who I am. And that's a story for another day, right? Has to do with the Black Belt and its connection to Africa, right? The Igbo tribe and Obi, Kuro Obi meaning Black Belt and Obi meaning King Hard Hut S and Center Temple Core in Igbo. And also the Chi is a word in Igbo, okay? The great Chi, for example, is God, and this is one of the differences between Igbo culture and Eastern Kung Fu is the conception of God, right? Where Kung Fu, Buddhism, it's interesting here. I've heard different things. I've found different things in my research. I took religious studies in college. From what I gather, their conception is kind of undefined, right? When Buddha was asked if there's a God, he didn't answer, okay? But I think that most Buddhists don't believe in God, and they believe in just powers in nature and reincarnation and so on and so forth. And they believe something very close to what the Hindus believe in regards to deities. Okay. So there's that, right? So I told this one female recently, and I don't think she's going to respond. They never do. I send a lot of kind of romantic messages to see what people are going to do to attractive women. And I know this suppressing my comments and so on to a certain degree, but it also allows me to have time to kind of analyze and think using my very powerful brain and say, what do I expect this person to do based on my life experiences and my profound insight, and analytical skills. And so I said to her, I wish that you were madly in love with me and that you were willing to die for God with me in this satanic world. Again, I wish that she was madly, and I do wish she's madly. I wish every attractive female is madly in love with me so I could stop being single and miserable to that degree, but I'm more happy than everyone else because I'm right with God more than anybody ever could be. So, again, I wish that she was madly in love with me and that she was willing to die at the drop of a hat for God with me in this purely evil world. Okay, going far beyond Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet was like a mark that I made sure I was going to pass. In every romantic advance I made sure it was more romantic. Every serious romantic advance, more romantic than Romeo and Juliet. And I said some of the most profoundly romantic things that have ever been said. And I said them to my ex-fiance. And I've said some romantic stuff to other people as well. Very, moral, mental, romantic, and spiritual are like the same idea, different aspects of the same idea. And that's part of how I grew up, right? I grew up with that romantic prerogative. I grew up looking for true and potent love. And again, some of you will be like, man, we don't want this guy to say this because then women are going to expect us to be all romantic, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, if you really wrap your mind around it, your relationship is far greater if you're romantic than if you're just having sex and sleeping around with a bunch of chicks, okay? It is actually disgusting to sleep around with a bunch of people, and where I settled in life, and I'll go ahead and admit that I've settled at times, and I'm saddened by it, okay? They're some of my biggest regrets in life, I wanted to, and I always believe this, I wanted to find someone early on in high school or something. I wanted to lose my virginity to her before marriage, because we'd have an agreement that we would follow through with, and then to get married to that person. Okay, I don't believe in waiting for marriage, and I'll tell you why. Marriage in the Bible is not supposed to be what it is in our modern society. In our modern society, it has to do with money, right? It's very expensive, tens of thousands of dollars. Okay, it's like this status symbol. It's like this show. So, hey, I'm important. I'm getting married. And don't you wish you could afford to get married? And I have a nice job. And it's bullshit. Well, there's so many people living in poverty all over the world, right? Millions and millions of people in abject poverty. And they want to brag about how much money they got and make marriage about money and social status and conformity and gold digging and materialism. And then even, there's a spectrum. Some people swear up and down that it's not about the money. But we know like right away. The average person, everyone else is hardly ever fooled when it comes to people who are gold diggers. So as I'm looking around growing up, I'm seeing gold digging scum. I'm seeing gold digging pigeons. I'm seeing fair weather worms. I'm seeing fair weather sluts. I'm seeing punk ass money grubbing. Okay, stab you in the back. Hypergamous, which means dating a richer guy every chance they get. Type of scum. I see, spread your legs for the capitalist oppressor type of filth. I see hypocrites. I see secret societies sleep around. Secrete, and secret are connected. Secret. That's a secret. It's a play on words for secret, which goes back to King Minos, who's said to be the father of homosexuality. And all this is it's detailing my experiences, right? You see how when I explain it this way, you see that I was right. And I've been vindicated by the light of justice, the light of truth, the light of God's love, the light of how it should be, the light of the world, as the light of the world. The lamp on its stand. They should have loved me, ladies and gentlemen, and I accuse all attractive females in Santa Clara County at this point as people that almost certainly, not the same as being convicted for it, but almost certainly, by their actions, by their thinking, would reject me because they're on the devil's side. I accuse you of choosing Satan over God. I accuse you of accusing me of not being worthy by your actions as a group, by shunning me as a group. And I find you guilty of not loving enough to see value in the most romantic person that ever lived, that far transcends what your lives will be. The love I have in my heart comes from God Almighty at the highest point in the human existence ever possible. And a short life with me is preferred to a long life in any other way. No offense to anyone, it's the truth.